What's up, everybody? Adam Rank here from NFL Fantasy, here to count down my top 10 fantasy quarterbacks heading into the 2021 season. Guys who are going to dominate this year. Let's start at number 10, maybe a little bit of a surprise, but I got Joe Burrow as my number 10 guy. Last year, he was fantastic as a rookie, and I know a lot of people were screaming for the Bengals to draft an offensive lineman in the first round, and the Bengals are like, yeah, that's great. We're going with Jamar Chase. We're trying to put as many good players around our young quarterback as possible. It's called the anti-Packers method. So I love Joe Burrow. The defense is bad. They're going to throw the ball a ton. So get as many shares of Joe Burrow as possible. Let's move on to number 9. And it's Jalen Hurts. Remember, in week 16, he entered that week as the consensus number 1 quarterback. And you know what? He was pretty good in that game against the Cowboys. As a matter of fact, I still say he didn't fumble that ball, but that's water under the bridge. He was fantastic at the end of last season. They went out there, they drafted a young wide receiver for him and allow him to grow. So I think Jalen Hurts is going to be a stud this year. He's another guy to keep an eye on. At number 8, let's go with Dak Prescott. This was a guy who was off to a blistering pace at the start of last season. And you know what? I don't expect him to have any drop-off this year. We've seen him go out there, test the ankle. He's been really good. They've rebuilt the offensive line. And I'll be honest with you, I think they might have the best receiving core in the league. That's right, Titans fans. I know you have Julio and A.J. Brown, but look at the 3 studs the Cowboys are running out there. I think Dak Prescott is worthy of a high draft pick this season. At number 7, let's go with Russell Wilson. Now, the thing with Russ is that through the first 6 weeks of the season, he'll look like the MVP. He'll throw like 40 touchdowns, and that's what he always does. But you know what? Then he slows down a little bit. But hopefully, Russell Wilson, because they brought in Gabe Jackson on the offensive line, hopefully that'll be enough to make him happy. He can go out there, he can deal, he can throw to DK Metcalf. Tyler Lockett had 10 touchdowns again last year. This is a really good player on a really good team. Russell Wilson's my number 7 guy. Let's move to number 6, Justin Herbert. He was a guy, listen, I sound like Chris Collinsworth. Here's a guy, I won't say that over and over again, but listen, Justin Herbert was fantastic last year. He went from surprise start to rookie of the year. And this Chargers team is going to be a lot better this season. Austin Eckler, who missed 6 games last year, is back, fully healthy. Keenan Allen, one of the best wide receivers in the league. I love Justin Herbert. All right, let's move in to the top 5. And at number 5 is Lamar Jackson, who averaged over 22 fantasy points per game in 2020. That was 9th amongst quarterbacks. But the one thing that we love is he still runs the football. He's had at least 7 rushing touchdowns in back-to-back years, 1,000 rushing yards in back-to-back seasons. This guy is amazing and should be one of the top quarterbacks taken off the board. I don't know what else to add about Lamar Jackson. He's just really good. How about that? All right, number 4, Tom Brady. I know a lot of people might be hesitant because he's 86 years old or whatever, but he is still at the top of his game. He was fantastic last year, and he was learning a brand new offense. This is one of the things that I talked about going into 2020. I avoided him early in the season because he was learning a new offense. They lost to Nick Foles. He was embarrassed. He didn't know what down it was in Soldier Field. You know what? All that stuff is behind him. Bruce Arians loves to throw the football. Remember that game in Week 16? What he did to the Lions in a half of football? I expect that Tom Brady to be the Tom Brady that we see for the majority of the season. At number 3, let's go with Kyler Murray. He was the QB3 last year, averaged close to 24 fantasy points per game. He's been a top 8 fantasy quarterback in back-to-back seasons. He's had at least 500 rushing yards, including 819 last year. He rushed for 11 touchdowns. A lot of people, I don't know why, people don't think of him as the Cardinals goal line back, but he is that dude, and he's only getting better. I know the division is tough. Kyler Murray is one of the safest picks on the board. At number 2, Josh Allen. Somebody who stepped up last year, averaging close to 25 fantasy points per game, averaged 284 passing yards per game in 2020. He's been a top 6 fantasy quarterbacks in back-to-back years. And again, like a lot of these guys we see at the top of the board, he runs for touchdowns, 8 rushing touchdowns in his first 3 NFL seasons. The only quarterback in NFL history to ever do that. He had at least 25 fantasy points in 9 games last year. He's been awesome. All right, and number 1, this is going to be a huge shock. You're not going to believe it. It's Patrick Mahomes. I know, last year, we all remember what happened to him in the Super Bowl. It did not look great. And you know what? Kansas City went out there and they addressed the issue. The offensive line was the problem in the Super Bowl. So Kansas City's like, all right, let's rebuild the whole thing. They brought in my buddy Kyle Long. They added some other pieces. I don't know why you would avoid Patrick Mahomes. He threw for 4,700 yards last year. He had 38 touchdowns in 15 games. This guy is going to be a superstar this season, likely the first quarterback off the board. You're going to have to pay more for it. You're going to have to blink early. But you know what? Sometimes it's worth it because week in and week out, Patrick Mahomes is going to be the top quarterback in fantasy football. Can we take a look at my list? Can we throw that on the board? By the way, you might notice one thing. You might look at this list and be like, hey, where's Aaron Rodgers? Well, guess what? The Packers are asking the same thing. So until Aaron Rodgers reports, until Deshaun Watson reports, I'm holding them off my list. These are the guys you're going to want to see. You know what? A couple of late round sleepers you might want to look at too. Matthew Stafford. I think Ryan Tannehill is going to be a great option as well if you don't hit any one of those 10 guys. But you know what? Thank you so much for joining me here today. If you want more killer information like this, subscribe to our YouTube channel. What is our YouTube channel? It's youtube.com/NFL Fantasy Football. I'm cheating by looking off to the side. Listen, I got it up here. I'm doing this from my home. What do you want from me? So make sure you like, subscribe to this, share it, do whatever you want to do. Continue to come back to this channel, but only if you want to dominate and win your leagues. If you don't, then, don't come back. I don't care.